I'm not happy.
I don't need Elizabeth Warren or the government giving away my money.
Calling Mike Bloomberg an oligarch has implications in this country that I think are unfair and unreasonable.
I care. That's it.
Makes you think of some rich person who got their money off of oil in Russia, who's taking advantage of a broken and dysfunctional system.
Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome back, I should say. It's been, it's been a while. Greetings. Hopefully you enjoyed your holiday. I certainly enjoyed mine. Feeling much better. Other than some things I'm not going to talk about. But hey, I'm back. We have fun stories. We're going to make fun of right-wingers, of course. We're also going to push back against Ron DeSantis and his recent homophobic, transphobic ad. Of course, then we have a mass shooting that, of course, the right wing is blaming on transgender people, of course. So debunk that crap, as usual. And then Elon Musk, not having a good one. Not having a normal one. We're going to have fun. So make fun of that. Oh, also, breaking news. Marjorie Taylor Greene booted from the Freedom Caucus. That's right. They told her, get the out of my house. God, I love it. Okay, it's good.
Jewish space lasers.
Not today. Not today. All right. So, anyway, like I said, fun stories. So why don't we jump right in? Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Important that you do so. With that said, let's make fun of Josh Hawley. What, again? When isn't a good time to make fun of Josh Hawley? Yeah. Okay. Shoot. Okay. Yeah. Let me see if I know how these things work. These buttons. There's so many of them. Okay. Senator Josh Hawley recently made a pretty big whoopsie on social media.
Whoopsie.
In a 4th of July tweet, Hawley had used a false quote to make a false claim about America. That's right.
USA, USA, USA.
Here's what he said. Patrick Kennedy, it cannot be emphasized too strongly or too often that this great nation was founded not by religionists, but by Christians. Not on religions, but on the gospel of Jesus Christ. For this very reason, peoples of other faiths but afforded asylum, prosperity, and freedom of worship here. So, now, you can look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's certainly Those are words. That is a quote from somebody, but it wasn't from Patrick Henry. Which, again, makes it kind of a...
Whoopsie.
He never said that, you freaking dunce. It's amazing that in the year 2023, when human beings carry devices, such as this, that, you know, allow them to have access to knowledge at the tip of their fingers, okay? That this man cannot take the time to look up the real quote. I mean, again, we have the most powerful compact computing devices the world has ever seen in history, in existence, that can find information literally in seconds. And this man, this lazy dipshit, cannot be bothered to use it to take 20 seconds to Google. It doesn't have to be Google. You could use Microsoft Edge. Since there's no Internet Explorer, of course. I mean, you could use Internet Explorer. I suppose you could use Ask Jeeves for all I care. Either way, you would find on a search, a relatively simple search, that is not true. Patrick Henry never freaking said that. Period. But here's the thing. It's not an accident. It's not. Josh Hawley, he knows better. There's no excuse here, okay? He cannot feign or claim ignorance. No, he's pushing this BS on purpose. This is a lie. The fact is that the United States was not founded as a Christian nation. Period. It's just not true. Doesn't matter how many times you want to repeat it and how many times you want to type it into the, into the Facebook comment or YouTube comment or tweet or you can sit there and rage post as much as you want, but that does not make it true. That does not make it a fact. The fact is that if you think that way, you're wrong. Factually, you are incorrect. Period. The First Amendment makes it very, very clear. For this to be a Christian nation, we would have to establish Christianity as the national religion. Is Christianity the national religion? Is it promoted by the United States government right now? No, it is not. In fact, the founders would have had to do that at the inception, which again is their claim. Oh, well, if it's founded as a Christian nation, then certainly they would have put some stuff in the Constitution that says that clearly. And if you read the damn thing, you would know, oh, yeah, there's really nothing in there that says Christianity is the national religion. It's just, again, the founders did not put this in the Constitution. And look, and that's not, this is despite the fact that, of course, that some of them, Patrick Henry in particular, being deeply religious people, they could have, but they decided not to. So now, where did this quote come from? From a 1956 article that discussed Patrick Henry's faith. So this was somebody analyzing this and putting their own opinion. And now, as far as I know, the first person to attribute this falsely to Patrick Henry is Minister David Barton, writing in his book in 1988, The Myth of Separation. Gee, I wonder what that's all about. Want to guess? Want to guess what that book's about? Look, this is one of a long line of, again, conservative falsehoods that America is a Christian nation, that we are based in the Bible. And that entire narrative has a goal of pushing religion onto every American citizen, whether they want it or not. And by the way, people who are religious, they don't want that either. They don't want someone else's religion or even their own religion being pushed on everyone else. This is a small fringe minority of people that think that their religion, it's my way or the highway. We're going to make America into basically, the Christian Iran. It's literally one of the most un-American things that you can do, other than, of course, align yourself with literal Confederates and their cause. Yeah. But let me tell you why they do it. At least my opinion, my humble opinion here. They do it because they hate America as it is. Hyperbolic? No. True. It's true, though. It's true. The conservative movement exists today. All it does, the entire purpose of it, is to drag the country not backwards, but to a time, a place where the country never was. What do I mean by that? They want to create a Christian state, a Christian nationalist state in this country, where women of all colors, black people, and other racial minorities are second to wealthy, white, cisgender, Christian, conservative men. And, of course, the LGBTQIA community, atheists, etc., are not allowed to openly exist. That is their ideal country, where the white men are in charge and everyone else is subordinate, or isn't allowed to exist. Now, that's not the promise of America. The promise of America is supposed to be freedom, liberty for all. Trying to push your falsehood that this is a Christian nation runs antithetical to what America is supposed to be all about. If you agree with this, then you can't dare call yourself a patriot. Because you know what? Real patriots are the ones that actually follow the Constitution. Yeah. And the ones that, actually have read it and know what it means and believe in it.
USA, USA, USA.
Josh Hawley ain't one of those people. Okay. So basically, Handmaid's Tale. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Last week, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis put out an ad that was excessively homophobic and also cringe. And of course, this week, he is now out defending it. In fact, I'm going to show you some of it, and then we'll discuss.
I cannot think of anything more horrifying.
It really has shut down drag.
Just produced some of the harshest, most draconian laws that literally threaten trans existence.
Congratulations, Ron DeSantis. Mission accomplished. You win.
Again, I wasn't going to show you the entire thing, but it's basically the entire video of, oh, left is melting down because I'm targeting the transes and the gays. Yeah, so he's celebrating massive amounts of bigotry. Now, also notice how friend of the show, Mike Figueredo, is on there. Farron Cousins was also, featured in another part of this video. I've got responses from them, by the way. They had something to say about it. But first, I'm going to show you a video of Ron DeSantis talking about how this is totally fair game. Before I get to that, let me just note that he's basically attacking Trump for being too friendly to the LGBTQ community, which is just wrong. Donald Trump was no friend to the LGBTQ community. I mean, they tried to banning transgender people from the military and all this stuff. So now, anyway, at the same time, though, Ron DeSantis has made his entire campaign about going after gay and trans people and other marginalized communities because he has no other actual policy positions other than helping his donors. Because at the end of the day, that's always what it's about. I got to help my donors. I got to make rich people richer. And so we're going to engage in the culture wars. I'm going to get into power. We're going to sit here and have you all fight while we pick your pocket. That's what it is. That's what it is. So now, of course, when it comes down to it, this is a political loser. It just is. We saw this during the midterm elections where election deniers and transphobes, they lost. They lost big time in these elections. And I'm going to tell you why. Turns out the American people are either against a majority of these anti-trans bills, or it doesn't matter as much to them. Even if they're against, for example, there's a poll showing that there's a majority of Americans that are like, I don't know about trans women competing in sports. But that's not their top priority. And by the way, it shouldn't be. And by the way, there's no reason, no actual good faith argument that anyone could ever make to support banning transgender girls from sports. That's just ridiculous. Especially high school sports. No, there's no evidence to support any of these bans. It's ridiculous, but it's culture war stuff. And again, even the Americans who, have fallen for this, the right-wing BS when it comes to, trans girls in sports. That's not something that they're going to go out and vote for. Like, you know what? Screw healthcare. Screw the economy. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to vote against them transes. That's not what people are out there doing. Not the reality. And I have data to back this up, by the way. According to data from polling data from Data for Progress, when asked about the more than 400 pieces of legislation working their way through state houses aimed at limiting the rights of transgender and gay people in America, 64% of respondents, including 55% of Republicans, said, quote, "This is too much legislation. Politicians are playing political theater and using these bills as a wedge issue." 55% of Republicans are like, too much anti-trans, anti-gay stuff. What are you doing? This is not an issue. This is not a big issue. This is not something that I really care about. 25% agreed with the statement, "This is the right amount of legislation. Politicians are dealing with a real danger that needs to be addressed." So understand that, and again, the majority of that is Republicans, of course. This is a fringe view. That's what this is. It's a fringe view. Ron DeSantis is basically representing a tiny little fringe with this war against the wokes. You got to go after the wokes, you see. Yes, so much. The wokers. The wokers. The wokers.
Woke.
You got to go after the woke. No, they don't care. The voters don't care. In fact, look, when asked in a different poll from PBS News, this is back in March, a couple of months ago, about the biggest issue that faces the country, 31% of Americans said the economy. Now, preserving democracy was the second highest ranking priority, and we're going to go down the list. And by the way, some of the stuff that they mentioned, I actually don't agree with. Fewer than 10% of Americans consider the following issues to be top concerns for the country at this time. Healthcare, 9%. Oh, no, for me, healthcare would be way up there. Healthcare is too expensive. Insurance is basically robbery. Healthcare is deeply, deeply important. And so I disagree with some of the priorities in this poll. Immigration, 8%. Climate change, 8%. No, climate change needs to be way up there as well. It's existential. Crime, 7%. And yet the right wing consistently focuses on crime. There's crime everywhere. They're robbing the cities. They're burning Arby's. Target's on fire. 7%. Nobody cares. Gun policy, 6%. Abortion, 5%. And education, 4%. So understand the focus on woke and the trans ideology, whatever that is. It's a loser. It's a losing issue in elections. It does not get people out to vote. And that's why Ron DeSantis is flailing at the polls. According to an NBC News survey, DeSantis is down to 22% in the Republican primary versus Donald Trump's 51%. Again, these are just absolute non-issues. So he's not doing well. Among many other issues, by the way, putting Ron sticking his fingers where he doesn't belong, where they don't belong, I should say. Yes, that's not exactly
sexual anarchy,
but it could be taken that way. Meatball Ron, pudding Ron, whatever you want to call him. I just noticed that there's a lot of food-based attacks on Ron DeSantis. Very interesting. Maybe I'm just noticing it because I haven't had lunch. Don't know. But look, among the many problems Ron DeSantis has, mainly has to do with the fact that he's super dull. He has the personality of a piece of driftwood. He's running a shitty campaign. He's super, super unlikable, and has been laser focused on a very, very losing issue. Unpopular issue. Nobody cares about this. This is not what brings people out. And it just makes it even more strange that he doubles, triples down. He said, there was an interview that he did recently, I don't remember where he basically, not an interview, sorry, it was a campaign speech where he said, like, woke, like 11 times in 30 seconds. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But it's something that he's completely doubled down on. And now he's actually trying to use that as an attack against Donald Trump. I'm not kidding. This is what he said on Tommy Lauren's Outkick show on YouTube.
I mean, I think, identifying Donald Trump as really being a pioneer in injecting gender ideology into the mainstream, where he was having men compete against women in his beauty pageants. I think that's totally fair game, because he's now campaigning saying the opposite, that he doesn't think that you should have men competing in women's things like athletics. And so we've been very clear on it, that we believe in protecting the rights of our girls and the rights of women athletes to be able to participate with fairness and with integrity.
Fairness and integrity, just making sure to protect the girls from those big scary trans women, you know what I'm saying, that oftentimes lose when it comes to competing against cisgendered women. And funny, you talk about protecting girls in for example, school sports. Well, it's weird because your rhetoric has inspired all these so-called transvestigators to go out there and harass 9-year-old girls, who I guess apparently don't look girlish enough. They're 9. Okay, she's 9, and yet, oh no, I think you're a trans because you're a little bit too good at sports. How deeply? First, okay, trans misogyny. It's not a surprise that the vast majority of transphobes are also misogynistic, because how deeply infantilizing is that rhetoric? Oh, we got to protect the women and girls, because they're so weak and pathetic that they could never win against a trans woman. Gotta protect them, you see. No. Again, oftentimes, transgender women get beaten by cisgender women in sports. And again, it's high school sports. And really, the main point of high school sports is to foster teamwork and for the kids to have fun and to bond. But apparently they want to, and they really betray themselves, because really it's about othering and erasing transgender people. That's what it is. And so, now that's it. One more fun thing from that, talking about fairness, right? So he points out, oh, you see, we got to restore fairness and all. And by the way, Donald Trump, do you know that he allowed transgender women to compete against women in the Miss Universe pageant, those beauty pageants? Wait, so does Ron DeSantis believe that transgender women have an unfair advantage in the beauty pageants? That's interesting. It's kind of a strange thing to say if you're Ron DeSantis and you believe that trans women don't actually exist and are just men in dresses. Kind of a strange thing, right? And so here's what would be funny for all of this if it weren't so, again, horribly harmful to the LGBTQ plus community. It is so obvious that a lot of these transphobes are so incredibly attracted to trans women. That's not that. Again, that's not the funny part. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to trans women. Very, very many beautiful trans women out there. But what's funny about this is that it's so obvious that it bothers them. It makes them so uncomfortable. I don't understand why. I don't understand why that would make them uncomfortable. Trans women are women. Trans women are valid and beautiful. What's wrong? What's wrong with that? What's wrong? You attracted to a trans woman? What's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But they do. And that's why trans women live in their heads rent free. I think that they desire what they believe that they can have. It's their personal hangups, you know, that they have. And obviously the really, really horrible thing about all of this is that these people's insecurities are putting trans women's lives in danger, in jeopardy, along with the rest of the LGBTQ community. Your hangups are not someone else's problem, and it shouldn't be something that stops other people from living their lives the way that they want to do, you know? And so one more thing about Ron DeSantis and the fact that he is flailing. Again, I talked about the recent interview that he had with Tommy Lauren, and I showed you a little bit of that. Do you know how many views that got? Just an aside, 3,700. Over 19 hours. Now, wait a minute. You might think, oh, come on. You're putting up views? What are you doing? The channel, the Outkick channel on YouTube has 1.2 million subscribers. She's getting my numbers. I have nowhere near 1.2 million subscribers. And she gets it. Remember when Tommy Lauren was like, oh, this huge name on the right? And she's interviewing the second highest polling Republican candidate. And she's getting 3,700 views in over a day. Or almost a day. What? I expected better, honestly. Very surprised. A little sad. All right, so now, back to, let's get to the backlash, I should say. All right, so first, Log Cabin Republicans criticized the ad as extremely homophobic and said that DeSantis and his naive policy positions are dangerous and politically stupid. Okay, that's Log Cabin Republicans. I'm still surprised that Log Cabin Republicans haven't quite figured it out yet. That, you know, the rest of the Republican Party hates them. Yeah, I know. Just can't seem to figure it out. Something to do with tax cuts. It's a hell of a drug, right? Trump campaign spokesperson Steve Chung weighed in on DeSantis' comments, telling ABC News, quote, a desperate DeSantis campaign with a flaming candidate in its last throes of relevancy. Oh, that's painful. Former acting director of national intelligence Richard Grenell, who served under Trump as the first openly gay U.S. cabinet member in history, called the ad, quote, undeniably homophobic. So now, Humanist Report, who, again, was in this video, he put out his own video. I suggest you check that out, but I will point out what he said on Twitter about it. Quote, using one of my videos describing his Nazi-esque genocidal policies as a flex is certainly interesting, but okay. And again, I would definitely check out his video where he breaks down his appearance in that ad. And then I mentioned Farron Cousins, also in the video, friend of the show, and he asked this question. How far back did you have to go to find that clip from me? The last few months I've been talking about how horrible he is at campaigning and laughing about his horrible performance. I'd be more than happy to send you those for your next ad if you'd like. Boss. Great response. So now, again, getting back to the overall point here, Ron DeSantis is not doing well, and it's because he has latched on and made his campaign all about one single issue, a very losing issue, and that is woke.
The wokers.
So, hey, once again, this kind of shows you, go anti-woke, you're going to go broke. Or at least your campaign will. Look, if Ron DeSantis or any Republican or any Democrat, by the way, would run an economically populist campaign, like what Trump had attempted to do in 2016, by the way, then they would get somewhere. Oh, they would. But when it comes to Ron DeSantis, that's never the point. And by the way, Republicans at large, not the point. Their point, is to get as much money they can directed to the coffers of their donors. And that's really all it is. Okay. Let's move on to more anti-trans hatred. Because, of course. There's another mass shooting in America. This happened on Monday in Philadelphia. 5 people were killed when, again, a mass shooter used an AR-15 to go on a killing spree, almost at random. And this is, once again, another terrifying and likely avoidable tragedy that the right wing has decided to politicize against transgender people. Yeah, because of course. Now, I'm going to show you how they're doing this. Now, the suspected shooter is believed to be 40-year-old Kim Brady Carricker, who the right claims is transgender and supports Black Lives Matter. Okay, so you might think, well, yeah, they do that pretty much with every shooting. Oh, BLM, trans people, Black Lives Matter, whatever. Antifa, you know. And they use some images of Carricker wearing women's clothing and sporting long hair. So, first off, let me point out, wearing women's clothing does not make you transgender. That's not an automatic, you put on a dress, you must be transgender. No, if you think that way, let me give you a couple of examples here. One is Rudy Giuliani, who very obviously, famously wore drag in a video along with Donald Trump. Rudy Giuliani is not transgender. Okay? Drag queens are not transgender either. Steven Crowder, by the way, also someone who loves to dress up in women's clothing. I know, for his skits, for his sketches, right? Well, I mean, under that same idea, if anytime you ever put on women's clothing, you must be trans. Just not true. It's just not true. Now, the right also claims that a picture that he put up of a clenched fist proves that he is Black Lives Matter. That's pretty flimsy evidence. So anybody who's ever put up a clenched fist of a picture online is automatically Black Lives Matter. Again, pretty flimsy evidence here. Okay. That said, what do I think? I think he's a right winger. I think he's got some right wing views, and I have, some evidence of this. So, Vice took a look at his social media accounts, specifically a deleted Facebook account, which again, the right wing had also grabbed these pictures from. Right now, that same account. And you won't hear this from the right wing that has left a lot of things out. Turns out he was a huge fan of the Second Amendment, Trump, and guns. In fact, under a video of Biden, he said this y'all president, we said 2A defends our rights. Now it's God save the Queen while he attempts to take our arms. This is in reference to a recent gun safety speech where which the president gave, where he ended up saying, God save the Queen. Okay. In another post with a link to a video about Biden pushing gun control measures, Carricker wrote, I told you he wanted your rights. God save the Queen, says Biden. Okay. In another recent Facebook post on his Facebook account, the suspect shared a video of children using guns, and in what was his final activity in the site before he allegedly killed 5 people, he posted a link to a YouTube video from a gun company teasing the release of a new rifle. Ooh, look at that. Now, that's, again, seems to be a very big fan of, guns. And hey, look, it's not just a right wing that enjoy guns. Left likes guns, too. There are people of all political persuasions that do like guns. To be fair. And that's going to play in a little bit later to my commentary. But first, Trump. Now, he posted repeatedly about Donald Trump in some, well, let's just say they weren't very critical. In May, he shared a post entitled, "Who Supports Trump in 2024?" which featured an American flag emblazoned with the words God, Guns, and Trump. Okay. So the right wing, of course, ignored all of that. Ignored all the, posts, the pro-Second Amendment posts and posts seemingly having him in favor of Donald Trump. And instead posted some pretty messed up headlines that focused all on him allegedly being trans. Notice that I say him, because there's no evidence that this person referred to themselves as she, her, or they, them. So there's also that. Okay. Now, let me go through the list of some of these articles, these titles from different outlets. New York Post headlines its piece, "Gunman arrested for Philadelphia mass shooting that left 5 dead is BLM activist who wore women's clothes." Okay. All right. Daily Wire put out, "Philly alleged mass shooter identified as cross-dressing BLM supporter." Where was that? Where was that? Ben Shapiro argued shooting would likely be disappeared by the media. Apparently not, because the perpetrator is not a white dude who backed Donald Trump. Oops, he kind of did like Donald Trump. By the way, not a white dude, but still backed Donald Trump. Yes, there are black Trump supporters. I don't quite understand them, but they exist. Shapiro added the shooter was a 40-year-old man who is trans, apparently. No. This person posted 2 pictures of himself wearing a bra, a woman's top, and earrings with his hair braided long in March. Shapiro also mentioned the suspect's support of BLM, adding of the shooting, "We're not allowed to talk about this anymore." And yet you're literally talking about it. Okay. Daily Mail also talked about an exclusive in its headline, "Cross-dressing gunman behind July 4th Philly bloodbath that left 5 dead as BLM supporter made chilling Facebook posts about black massacres and evil spirits." Wow, that was a mouthful. Of course, they did not mention the posts in support of Donald Trump, because of course not. I'm sorry, until the 22nd paragraph. So you got to get real far in. So I guess fair in the Daily Mail. It's in there somewhere. You just got to do a lot of reading. Gateway Pundit, however, titled their story, "Gunman behind Philly massacres, BLM supporter and transgender?" ? The Gateway Pundit did not include any mention of Trump with the Second Amendment's article. Post-millennial characterized character in its headline as BLM supporter. That article also failed to mention any of the alleged perpetrators' pro-Trump commentary. Then you have Hot Air. "Philadelphia shooter was another transgender person." Wayne Allen Root also shared the post-millennial story, tweeting, "History may refer to this period in American history as the Great Trans War." Unhinged. Just unhinged. This guy's over here screaming,
"We're under attack!"
"Oh, it's the transes! They're coming for us!" No, they're literally not, though. I mean, it's all of this is just insanity. It's dumb. There's no evidence of the things that they're saying. It just doesn't exist. They're just jumping to crazy conclusions. And I could go on, by the way. This is a sampling of this massive amount of just, fountain of disinformation that we are constantly being drenched in at all times. They have hopped on the bandwagon that every single mass shooter apparently is either a trans person, BLM, or Antifa, despite the fact that we know that they're not. We know that they're not. And by the way, we have actual statistics. We have numbers. So now, this comes from Laura Dugan, and I'm going to give her a quote here. I'm going to quote her here. And she's a professor of human security and sociology at The Ohio State University. She said, quote, "We cannot statistically make any claim of a trend of transgender people being a threat and being mass shooters." So here are the numbers. Now, the four examples that conservatives cite, and one of them is dubious at best. Okay. Those four examples that you constantly hear about if you're listening to right-wing media, they're minuscule compared to the 3,561 mass shootings since the year of 2016 that have been perpetrated by cisgender males. Yeah. That's 0.11% of all mass shootings that it could be attributed to possibly transgender or non-binary shooters. It's a pretty low number. Pretty low. And yet, they seem to be kind of laser hyper-focused on those four. Look, there is a trend, however, that seems to be absolutely real, and that's violence against transgender people. Trans people are 4 times more likely than cisgender people to be victims of violent crimes, despite the fact that they're very, very small representative in society. There's not a lot of them, and yet they're 4 times more likely to suffer violence, to be the victims of violent crimes. That says something. That trend is absolutely real, and it's horrifying. And the right, again, first of all, it's almost as if they're full of crap. And secondly, well, they are full of crap. And again, secondly, they're just heaping all of this, disgusting rhetoric against these very small, very, very marginalized communities in the hopes of apparently, because this is what it seems like, making it so that instead of it being, 4 times more likely that a trans person experiences violent crime, maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe 10 times more. They're actively stoking violence against the transgender community and the LGBTQI plus community at large. So there's more. Mr. Carricker's grandmother, who again did not identify him as transgender, said her grandson was, quote, very political and held some very anti-government views. So now that does not sound like a leftist transgender activist. It sounds like someone who's been subscribed for some to some right-wing views, which is very strange. So now let me get into some quick nuance, right? So let me just be clear. He liked guns. As I mentioned before, that's not a right-wing thing specifically. There's a lot of leftists that like guns. Now, speaking of leftists, okay, do they hold anti-government views? No, a lot of them hold anti-capitalist views. Now, that might look like some anti-government views. Certainly our government's pretty capitalist. But you generally do not see them do mass shootings. No, the vast majority, and studies prove this, of politically motivated mass shootings comes from the far right. It's easily accessible information. The FBI's put out the statistics on this. And so, now, that fact alone, the fact that you have this increasing violence against transgender people in the LGBTQI plus community, and you have the increase of groups like Proud Boys and other fascist groups, alt-righters that have been engaging in violence. That's why there are leftists out there that are arming themselves. They want to protect themselves from the fascists, and I don't really blame them. And yes, that does mean that trans women are among those that are arming themselves. And I think that fact alone is making right-wingers very nervous. Which is why I think that you are seeing some very specific attacks against trans women. Let me show you an example of one of those. And this, I believe, is Eric Bowman.
Chris, just let me get the final thoughts from you. I mean, they're talking.
Wrong video. Hold on.
Will there ever be any concern as to why these various trans people are committing mass shootings? Do we know if hormones given to trans people are causing problems? We don't know. And we will have trouble knowing because no one wants to fund research that goes against that leftist narrative.
Nope, that's not true. Also, by the way, early in that same segment, Eric Bowling's like, we shouldn't let these people have guns. So basically, oh yeah, I'm for the Second Amendment, except for trans people. Which they, by the way, that's also why they've begun calling being transgender a mental illness, to keep them away from being able to arm themselves. Not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, folks. And again, you heard him also talk about, do we know if hormones given to trans people are causing problems? We don't know. Actually, yeah, we do know. Does Eric Bowling believe that estrogen is making trans women into violent mass murderers? Does he think that's what's happening? What? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that there isn't side effects of any medication, because in any medication, there is side effects, of course. That's what HRT is, by the way. It's medication. It's medication that has been proven to be very effective at promoting positive mental health outcomes for trans people. Yes, vastly improving their quality of life and cutting down on the risks of suicidal ideation. Okay? It has helped so many people. HRT. The risks are massively outweighed by the benefits. By the way, those risks, none of them include being turned into a mass murderer. That's just insanity. No, look, I'm gonna point it out real simply, okay? This isn't drugs. This isn't about mental health, okay? No, what I think is driving mass shootings is easy access to weaponry and being radicalized online by far-right hacks that are pushing culture war narratives. That's really it. Congratulations, I solved the mystery. We can all go home now. Tylenol has more risk. Yeah, and even Tylenol has risks of side effects. Every medication has a risk of side effect. Doesn't mean that it's not like, are you like not going to take a Tylenol? Because, I don't know, there's a side effect there. No, the good outweighs the potential for bad. And that's the point that I'm trying to make here. All right. Let's go to making fun of Elon Musk.
There's insanity in the control room.
Okay. On Wednesday, Meta, the company that owns Facebook, launched their new Twitter competitor, Threads. And Elon Musk is losing it. In fact, Elon is threatening to sue.
Elon.
Yeah. In a letter to CEO Mark Zuckerberg, published by Semaphore, a lawyer for Twitter, Alex Spiro, said that said that Twitter has serious concerns that Meta Platforms has engaged in systemic, willful, and unlawful misappropriation of Twitter's trade secrets and other intellectual property. Wait, okay, so those are heavy charges. Oh, you were stealing our intellectual property in order to make your Twitter competitor. Is there any truth to this? Actually, I don't necessarily know. I'm not a web designer, to be fair. But let me get to the specific charge here. Sphere has accused Meta of hiring dozens of Twitter employees who, quote, had and continue to have access to Twitter's trade secrets. Which ones? And other highly confidential information. Why would they still have that? Oh, well, I mean, there's a couple of reasons why I guess they would still have that. Number one, Elon Musk is a clown and didn't take security seriously. Oh, and he also fired everybody. Yeah, he fired everybody that could have secured those alleged trade secrets. And also, there wouldn't be a problem here if he hadn't fired everybody. To allow Meta to come in and say, hey, look, you just got fired from Twitter. Why don't you come work for us? Seems like you know what you're doing. Because they do. And so, okay, sure. Great. Wonderful. And look, here's the thing. I'm on Threads. I just signed up today. And it's actually not great. I know. I mean, functionally, right? It's very algorithmically driven. So there's no, everything that's served to you, not based on who you follow, just the algorithm serves it up. There's also no direct messages. It only works for mobile, which irritates me. It's super basic, but there's some good sides to it. First of all, it's super easy to sign up. If you already have an Instagram, it takes like one button. And there's no Nazis or space Karen. So that was enough to sell me. And so, God, does this feel like an ad? It's not an ad. I swear to God, it's not an ad. But now, here's the thing. Just those facts alone, the fact that it's not being run by Space Karen, or, filled with Nazis, at least not at the moment, the company, according to the company, the app has garnered about 30 million signups less than 24 hours after launch. That is better than pretty much every Twitter competitor out there. Again, it's because it's super easy to sign up. So you can see from the numbers why Elon Musk, his, hair is on fire. Why he is molding. In fact, a lawyer alleges that Meta assigned those employees to develop, quote, Meta's copycat Threads app with the specific intent that they use Twitter's trade secrets and other intellectual property in order to accelerate the development of Meta's competing app, in violation of both state and federal law, as well as those employees' ongoing obligations to Twitter. You fired them. What obligations do they have? You booted them. What obligations do they have to Twitter? None as far as I can see. This is ridiculous. You can see he's so mad right now. He's just mulling, very, very angry, raging right now. Damn you, Threads! Now sorry. I'm just very, very entertained. The statement also from the lawyer says, Twitter intends to strictly enforce its intellectual property rights and demands that Meta take immediate steps to stop using any Twitter trade secrets or other highly confidential information. Again, what trade secrets do you think that they have? It doesn't make any sense. A Meta source told Semaphore that Twitter's accusations are baseless. Quote, "No one on the Threads engineering team is a former Twitter employee. That's just not a thing." And you know what? I actually believe it because Threads does not have quite as much functionality as Twitter used to have. Okay. Again, back before Elon Musk pretty much ruined it, Threads super basic. But again, the real reason they're mad is because Meta seems like an actually serious contender because of all the stuff that they already have. Threads is linked with Instagram, it's linked with Facebook. Again, super easy to migrate. All that stuff, right? That I had already mentioned. But again, I just think it's really, really funny how angry Elon Musk is. And that's probably why so many people have signed up for it. Let's be clear. As Semaphore noted, Threads may be the most serious threat yet to take users and ad dollars away from Twitter. Meta has the resources to commit serious time and money to competing with Twitter, and it has a built-in network of billions of Instagram users to build on. Meta has also long experienced. Meta also has long experience hobbling rivals with successful copycats. There's no lies there. Instagram Stories stopped Snapchat's growth, while Reels is muscling through as a TikTok rival. One thing that Zuckerberg's pretty good at is, copying other people and having it be very successful. So now, Twitter CEO Linda Yaccarino had to chime in here, a little concerned. She tweeted, "On Twitter, everyone's voice matters. Whether you're here to watch history unfold, discover real-time information all over the world, share your opinions, or learn about others, on Twitter, you can be real if you pay us $8. You built the Twitter community, and that's irreplaceable. This is your public square if you give us $8. We're often imitated, but the Twitter community can never be duplicated unless you give us $8. Did I mention you have to pay them, to get your tweets featured? Because the algorithm, again, once Threads has an algorithm, let's be fair, but it doesn't push the stupidest stuff at the top, the people that pay them. So already improvement over Twitter. Now look, again, when it comes to the Twitter community, at this point, it's basically Bitcoin scammers and Nazis that have been promoted by the site that have paid their $8. Once again, I'm not defending Threads as not being owned by a terrible company. We know Meta is a terrible company who will undoubtedly steal our personal data and use it to relentlessly monetize us. But on the other hand, at least we're sticking it to Elon. And I guess when it comes to that, I'll smoke some meat and dedicate it to Mark Zuckerberg. Just for letting me get away from the Nazi-infested hellhole that is Twitter. Smoking these meats. Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess I can do this real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been kicked off the island. The island happens to be the House Freedom Caucus. And who kicked her off? Well, that is the question, isn't it? Okay, so now, according to two GOP lawmakers familiar with the situation, Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer with the House Freedom Caucus, a Republican lawmaker told the Daily Beast, noting that one of the reasons is because she was disparaging fellow members. It might have something to do with, the spat with Lauren Boebert, in which she referred to Ms. Boebert as, quote-unquote, a little bitch. Now, the GOP lawmaker added, quote, "I think there's been some disparagement that's been going on. Oh, was that what you? That's what you call it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Great. Now, again, that was a fight with again Lauren Boebert, who was a I guess influential, prominent member of the Freedom Caucus, and apparently that must have been the final straw. Now that said, apparently Boebert did not cast a vote to kick her out. Wait. Oh, okay. Hold on. According to the Daily Beast report, during internal deliberations almost 2 weeks ago, which occurred after Green confirmed to multiple publications that she did indeed call Boebert a little bitch. Come on, I love it. Boebert agreed with another member who argued against removing Green out of respect for her right to freedom of speech. Well, that's wow. That's a kind of a surprise, honestly. So you're like, she has the freedom of speech to call me a little bitch. I agree. I agree with that sentiment. Call her that all you want. Freedom. And yes, by the way, that's also oddly principled. Okay. In fact, a GOP lawmaker familiar with the HFC meeting told the Daily Beast, quote, she was against having her removed. She was actually against it. Boebert confirmed to the Daily Beast that she had defended Green on freedom of speech grounds, but would not comment on how she ultimately voted. I mean, look, let's be fair. I actually don't think that Boebert kicked her out. I think it was other people. Weirdly enough. Now, she said the comments that Marjorie and I shared with each other had absolutely no influence on my vote. So, who was it? Again, I had already talked about some of the drama within the Freedom Caucus and the fact that most of the people were actually just mad about Marjorie Greene going slightly more mainstream. And what I mean by that is buddying up with power. Kevin McCarthy. So that's something that a lot of the House Freedom Caucus members did not like. Not only that, but again, going after House Freedom Caucus members when they decided to trash the recent deal between Joe Biden and Kevin McCarthy. And so I think it's more of the internal politics than anything, which again seems strange to me to say, but I think this is part of a purity test, if you will. And I think that's generally what drives that particular group. Purity. And so she got kicked out for, again, putting her career, because that's what she is, a careerist over the purity of the group. It's a little ironic talking about it, but it's true. That's the way that I see it. And I think the other members, or some of the other members, enough of them, said she's obviously not towing our particular line. She's not, she's putting her career and advancement ahead of what we want to do, which is basically just obliterate government. Well, I mean, if that's the case, if that's what happened, well, let's just say it's a strange end to her, involvement in the Freedom Caucus. But make no mistake, she's still, Boebert is, sorry, I misspoke on that. Marjorie Greene is always going to continue to be an incredibly extremist voice, even if she attempts to pass herself off as more of a mainstream conservative. That's it. That's all I got. Okay. Power for herself. Oh, absolutely, it's a power move. Again, I think she's a careerist. Someone who, wants to grab a little something for herself, a little bit of power. And that's kind of what they do in Congress. They want power, and they're gonna come for it. They're gonna go get it. So there it is. Okay, so let me read some super chats here before we head out. Jonathan Leiter, thank you for gifting a membership here. Gabby Mathis, thank you for gifting 5 memberships over on YouTube. Appreciate that. Also, Gabby says, I don't know any trans except Benny Carollo, but have cool gay neighbors, and please love all people. Stop the hate, please. I can also agree that Benny is based. And I hope, you know, again, I hope she's incredibly successful. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel, all that stuff. She's quit TYT, so she is an independent voice now, and she needs all the love and support that you can give her. I'm not going to dive too much into, you know, everything surrounding it, but let's just say there's been some rather troubling statements by a couple of hosts that I, you know, respect. And it's sad. And I'm not happy with them. So, as far as some of the statements made. But anyway, I'm not going to get further into that. Have I seen Mike Figueroa and his recent vid on TYT? Yes, I have. By the way, Mike, going to be on the show tomorrow. So that's going to be a fun, you know, a little bit of a, well, we're going to have a fun show. We're going to cover some stories. We're going to just, you know, rip into the right wing, as usual. So it's going to be a very enjoyable show. With that, thank you all. Appreciate you. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you back here tomorrow for an excellent show.
Oh no! Sexual anarchy.
Woke mob.
Whoopsie.
Wet ass keyword.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.